Hello, everybody. This is our first episode of our unnamed podcast. We are currently in the works of it. I'm sure we'll think of something relatively quickly. But first, I just wanted everybody to introduce themselves. Tawa, you can go first if you want to.
All right, great. Thanks, Brad. I'm Tala Rains, and I this is going to be a kind of an astrology and social phenomenon sort of podcast. And so I am a Leo sun, and I'm a Cancer rising, and I'm hailing from Mexico at the moment. And so we'll have a little fun together.
Yes. And shout out to Tawa. She is the orchestrator who put everything together. So shout out to her. Uh, uh, Natasha, Rhiannon, one of y'all can go next.
Rhiannon, would you like to?
Hi, I'm Rhiannon Myers. I am a Libra sun and I am a Pisces rising. I'm out of Colorado and yeah, looking forward to having some great discussions. So,
Let's go. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name's Natasha Sadasivan, and I am in Mississauga, Ontario, in Canada, just outside of Toronto. Um, and my sun moon rising is a Leo sun, Leo moon, and Virgo rising. And I am also very touched that Tawa reached out to do this and very excited to have these awesome conversations with Rhiannon and Brett, and just looking forward to how this rolls out.
Heck yeah. Let's go. What's up, y'all? I'm Brett Maxey the second. I am Cancer Sun, Capricorn Moon, and Virgo rising. I got a question for y'all. When y'all if y'all were to put in your socials or something, or whatever it may be, do you do Sun, Moon, and Rising, or you do Rising, Sun, Moon? I see it's like different sometimes.
I do rising sun moon. It's just
Really?
my
Oh.
I
yeah.
feel that.
I think I do that as well because I just feel like rising is where I start because that's the helm as we were saying earlier, and that's
Hmm.
you know, that's that's my first identifier, I guess. And then I go sun moon after that.
Right.
Oh, interesting. I will say, as a quote unquote newbie to astrology, I still do sun, moon, rising because I feel it's just it's like an orderly thing I've followed.
Mhm.
And being a Leo sun, Leo moon, or just being a Leo sun, that's Leo has always stuck in my head. So I'm still embracing Virgo as my rising.
It's that
Facts.
it's that dominant culture thing that we've all been trained or grown up, even if we didn't pay attention to astrology, right? Growing up, we all thought about what's your sun sign because that's the only thing anybody ever talked about. So
Right.
that makes a lot of sense.
How long have y'all, I know we kind of just discussed this with each other, but how long have
Mhm.
y'all been studying astrology? And yeah, what got y'all into it, if you don't mind me asking?
I'll start. I haven't actually been studying it for very long. I've only been studying it for maybe 2.5 years now. I tried to do some, I guess I'll call it like the lightweight studying, learn your chart sort of stuff, and I couldn't ever really quite get things to stick in my brain as far as how to categorize it and where to help it all make sense and how to I guess I didn't know how to build the foundations upon which to understand the system. And it's so dense, I mean, astrology is so dense. Um, but I've always been curious about it, and I've had readings prior to that, but I think what brought me to astrology was just having moments where I would literally wake up in the morning and go like, what is going on in the universe? Because I just would have this sense like something is going on here. And I know, Brett, we were talking about maybe including some of the astronomy. And I remember probably 20 years ago hearing about the fact that the sun changes polarity I think it's 7 years, but I could be mistaken. And then, in that little article where I was reading that the sun changes polarity, I it said it, and of course, like that doesn't impact you at all. It's, you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't actually do anything. And I remember very strongly thinking, how could it not impact you?
Mm.
How could the sun changing its polarity not have an impact on the Earth and the planets and everything and the humans on the planet? And so, it's fun to explore that sort of stuff through this lens.
Heck yeah. Um, I'll speak a little bit about how I started. I think I started around my Saturn return, so this was like in 2020 or 2019. Uh, like Tawa, like always something. I always thought there was something to it. Never could really figure out what it was until I um, started to really study. And yeah, so it's been about 5 years now. Been blessed to be able to be a part some cool programs, studying with Adam Ellenboss and all the Nightlight 27 crew, the OG crew, and then all the other classes that studied with, and then working some with Austin Coppock right now, which has been really cool. And then prior to that, just like a lot of like books and Demetra George and astrology podcasts with Chris Brennan and things like that. But um, yeah, it's been really fun, and I'm um, uh, really thankful we're able to do this today and just talk about it and just riff off each other.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll
Yeah.
go next. Oh,
Go ahead.
Natasha.
Go,
Okay.
go right ahead, Randy. Yeah.
So I just started getting into like modern astrology like around like 14. I was just so interested in archetypes and just the fact that the psychology behind it, that you can really understand someone's personality and like see blind spots and see parts of yourself that you know, couldn't normally see. Um, and I think it wasn't even until I was like maybe 26 that I even knew what a house was. Like I didn't, I was still in the modern astrology section of things, but just always like going back to it is kind of that thing that I would always would want to do whenever I had downtime to like unwind. So, um, and it wasn't until about 2016 or 17 that I found Adam Allenboss's Nightlight Astrology channel and just totally spoke to me. Um, started just watching his like lectures regularly, and then took Nightlight 28. So yeah.
Yeah. So, so I've been studying, um, well, I guess formally since late 2023. I also came into Nightlight 27, yay. And, and it's been really a blessing and a gift to have been formally trained by Adam Ellenboss and all of the crew at Nightlight. And for me, I've said this multiple times. It was actually a life-saving tool and resource. I say that my journey started a couple of years before that, and due to some health complications that really pushed me in a direction where I wasn't getting any answers from healthcare professionals. I too came to that point like Tala, where I said, what's going on? Something else has to be explaining something. And I was kind of guided towards the astrology, and I didn't really know anything about astrology at all. And being a Leo sun, always reading those articles in teen magazines back in the 90s, I never felt I resonated with it. So I never looked into astrology. But the your life moves you in the direction that you're supposed to walk this path, and I followed it. And I'm so grateful that I did, because it has brought in a whole new perspective and um, sense of the reality that we're in, and just giving me a lot of tolerance and acceptance for what we've been given. Um, so yeah, so I still that's why I call myself the newbie because it's been only a couple of years, and really what brought me to formally start training and just not watching YouTube videos was actually Adam's podcast with him and his wife Ashley, and I happened to catch their episode on astrological fear and burnout, and it was about the Uranus opposition, and they hooked me in. So it was from that podcast onward.
Like, yeah. What's this I'm just curious, were y'all more interested in like the modern psychological stuff at first or like the predictive traditional astrology when you guys first started studying?
I was I was like dead set on saying that this is not predictive in the beginning. It wasn't
Hmm.
really, yeah, I was like, no, that's not how we use this. It was like my personal belief system like 20 years ago. And I was like, it wasn't until Adam was like, actually, like horary, and you can use horary to like actually like locate things and like, you know, time events and things like that. And so it's been really interesting for me to be like, go from that perspective to like actually embracing that it could be something predictive. So,
Like, yeah. I'm
yeah.
pretty similar. I'm like I and I still am a little bit, but I really, really enjoy the psychological piece of it and how it reflects what's going on, past, present, future, things like that. But yeah, obviously the predictive and the horary and the different branches are really cool too.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't, sorry, go
No, go
ahead.
ahead, Tara. No, go ahead. That's fine.
I just was going to say that I don't know that I really had any of those like very concrete thoughts about whether it was predictive or not predictive or maybe I mean I'm thinking about it and maybe it's because I am so intuitive and have been so intuitive for so long that even choosing to study astrology and which school of astrology I chose to study was all super just intuitively directed, you know.
Mhm.
And Rhiannon actually is the person who introduced me to Adam Allen at Nightlight Astrology, and I started watching some of his podcasts. And um, probably what I like the most is maybe that he teaches it in such an academic way, and I have a deep
Mm.
academia sort of part of me that really likes to engage my brain and get me into something through that. And so I don't think I have any moment of questioning whether it could be predictive, both in the sense of predictive of life events, past, present, and future, but also just, I mean, to me, it feels like it's almost a predictive act to just be able to um, give such a accurate, detailed blueprint of a person that is on this earth. That almost feels predictive to me. So so it feels to me like even if you were going through the purely modern, more psychology based astrology, that it would still somehow be predictive. I guess that's how I'm feeling it right now.
I'm
Mhm.
with you. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I think I didn't really know there was a difference before I formally started to train. And I remember something like the difference in just the houses, which is a whole other conversation, kind of came up. And I tended my first reading was with an evolutionary astrologer, and she's phenomenal, absolutely amazing. Um, and I loved her poetic way of talking, and there's quite a bit of abstraction to it, which I really loved, and I felt that I was very attached. I felt like it was natural to me. And then the other side was I saw the structure that was created or not created, but that comes from Hellenistic astrology. And at first, I felt maybe resistant to it, that I thought I wouldn't be able to handle it. But I actually find it has given me so much more stability that I can go to that evolutionary side and understand that with a little bit more. Um, I think a little bit more understanding because the structure is there. So it was interesting. There was a little bit of back and forth about which way to go when I did understand it. But I think when I first started, I truly didn't know the difference. And so I thought they were all one. So I'm glad I've kind of tipped back and forth into both areas a little bit.
Heck yeah. Excuse me. Um, what we're going to talk about a little bit more today is the sun. I felt like, and we all kind of agreed on this, and we talked about this earlier prior to recording this, is it'd be really cool to start with the luminaries, just from like a foundational perspective, and then we can branch off of that and then continue to do other things. So uh, whether it's myself or anybody else who wants to talk about the the traditional sun in astrology and the rulership and things like that. Anybody could step up, or I will gladly speak about it to the best of my knowledge. And also, one more thing, I forgot about this. I didn't give a shout out to the support cast at Nightlight too. So like Meg and Michelle and Marjorie, Raymundo, Aaron, just everybody. I just want to give a shout out to them too. I don't want to leave anybody behind. I'm sure I didn't
Nice.
uh name everybody, but y'all are greatly appreciated. But if anybody wants to start talking about the sun, let's do it.
Well, I think I will start because I just had that it had just occurred to me that I think the interesting thing about the sun and this conversation in particular about the sun is that we're going to take it from a Hellenistic, a classic astrology, a traditional astrology position, and most people, that your average Joe, just like I started at the beginning, or your average Jane, um, that I myself have just, I only ever had awareness of sun, and supposedly your sun is your personality and kind of really shows how you show up in the world. And, those of us who have studied and explored and looked into it in a deeper way, the sun through the Hellenistic lens, that's not exactly how it ends up being. So I think that's just a nice place to start is that we're looking at the sun from a different perspective than the typical like horoscope, as somebody said at one point in Teen Magazine, where it tells you your sun sign. And this is what you're like. And many of us, myself included, and maybe many of those of you who are watching here would read it because I'm a Leo sun, and I would read it and I would just be like, huh, I don't know that I really relate to that so much as far as my personality. Now, if I had been able to go back in retrospect and look at it from the Hellenistic perspective of my son being kind of the directing force, the plot line, what's taking me in a certain way through life, then I could have maybe made some sense out of the bits and pieces of information that were coming to me. But I was seeing it as, oh, that supposedly this is my personality. And personally, I often will tell people that I finally discovered, and it maybe took me until I was 50, that I started to think about because I've always thought I was highly extroverted. But around 50, I kind of started questioning that. I was like, am I actually really that extroverted, or was I raised with an extreme extrovert parent? And, so that was just what I learned, that this was the proper and appropriate way to socialize. And and it turns out that that's really kind of true, that my son helps support that, being a son in Leo, but it's not necessarily my personality and my true kind of core of how I interact and how I feel in the world and how I move out in the world. So I know I didn't touch on Brett because I feel like somebody else is going to do that. I didn't touch on like what are we actually defining the sun as in this approach of astrology, but I think that's going to happen with others.
I think that was perfect. And we can just, and this is why I love this format that we have. I want it to be, and we all want it to be, right? It's like conversational, as we can. right? And I think that's why Tawa has recruited us into this into this group, and so we're able to do that. But yeah, one of the first things that I think about the sun from an astrological perspective, and this also goes into the astronomy side. It's like the center of everything. It's the core of everything, right? And so when you think about the sun's rulership, how the sun rules is it's in its what's it called in Leo? Can somebody help me? I forgot
The
what the word is called.
domicile,
It's
what's
in its
that?
home in Leo.
Domicile.
Um, I'm pretty sure we've all heard this, like the negative connotations of like Leo and like Leo's the center of everything. They want to be in the middle and they want to shine. Well, a lot of it has to do with what the sun actually is, right? The sun gives life. The sun is literally the center of the solar system. The sun lights up everything. And so I think that's like a great place to start. And then we talk about the sun being exalted. Uh, it's in a really strong form uh, in Aries because it's the beginning of spring, and so now like the light has come back, and I really like how Adam has taught us the reason why these why the rulership system works, and then also on the other side of it, where the sun is in its detriment in Aquarius because now in the northern hemisphere it's like the winter time, it's a lot colder, the sun is not out as much, and then why it's in its fall, it's because of Libra, and now it's the beginning of fall. Like it's literally the beginning of the darkness. And so I thought that was once I learned it that way, once I was taught it that way, I was like, wow, this is all starting to make sense. Things aren't just there just because there's a reason for everything. And personally, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, that's why I love traditional astrology, and I'll take traditional astrology over um, anything right now, unless like something like like some super astrology gets created or something. No, but because there's a why and there's a purpose to everything, right?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and I think one of the things that I found with astrology, especially actually, you know, back in 2020 when there's so much stuff coming out in the world, and I start to think to myself, I don't know what's real and what's not real, right? We're kind of in this similar time. I don't know what's real and what's not real. What I do know is that the sun rises and falls every day. It doesn't lie, it's always there.
Mhm.
And so for me, I'm not going to find, well, maybe I'll find out years from now. It's something else. I don't know. But essentially, it has done the same thing every single day of my life and every single day of everybody else's life. It's a reliable function. And no matter what season, like where you live in the world, it does function the same way. It will rise and fall. And so just seeing that, and like you said, Brett, Adam giving us that foundation of the seasons with the beginning and it being in the exaltation in Aries at the beginning of spring, and then in that fall in Libra, we can work with it actively because we can see it. We don't have to look into a book. We don't have to look online or ask somebody else. We can actually kind of sit with the planet a little bit just by acknowledging those parts. And that helps, for me, it helps me to remember astrology a lot better. Like you said, right? Just following. So those rulerships are based on what ancient people would have been looking at, just sitting outside, staring at the sun in all of its glory and reality, right? And just following its very simple pattern. So those rulerships are important because that's what they were sitting and watching, right?
Yeah. And I love what you said about Natasha about it being like the sun being reliable. Because every time I think of Leo, like I just think like they're just always there, like they're always on, like they're always like supporting everything. Just like the sun, Leo being a fixed sign, it just does the same thing over and over again. It's always there, reliable. So, and it's just giving. So, yeah.
There's also, and Raina, I'm glad you brought that up. There's also something uh contagious about being around that
Yes.
positive, vibrant Leo energy. It like literally brings light to whatever it is. Like you can tell like when somebody has that like that just that pure Leo energy, they go into a room, everybody's like, "Oh, who is this?" And like everybody can feed off of that. And that's another reason why I love just the traditional rulerships because it provides so much nuance and so much detail to all these planets, right? Because a planet can mean so many different things and it can mean the same thing, but over time, it means different things based off what's going on culturally and things like that. I thought it would be cool to talk about some sun facts. I might bore some people. I thought this was kind of, I thought this was kind of
Do
cool
it.
though. Uh,
No, I love scientific. Love
I probably should cite the book. You know what? I'm gonna get the book real quick.
it.
Hold on. This is like one of those like really, really simple because I'm nowhere near like a scientist, whatever you want to call it. I got it from this How Space Works.
Ooh.
I know it's backwards. I don't know how to switch the
No, no.
camera.
Don't worry.
One of those is the publisher DK. Y'all seen DK, right?
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
DK books. They're
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
educational books oftentimes, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been working off. I like when I first started studying astrology, I was like, oh, let me like read this while I'm doing, strengthening my foundation and like see what can come up from it. So some things about the sun. It's an enormous nuclear powerhouse at the heart of our solar system, kind of like we were talking about before, how it's like literally the center of everything. It provides the gravitational force that binds the solar system together, and its energy floods the planets with heat and light. Another one, the sun's overall mass is formed of 67 elements. The majority is hydrogen and helium, the two lightest elements in the universe. I thought that was really interesting of how
Mhm.
like powerful but like ethereal the sun is, right? And the temperature of the sun varies from around 27 million degrees Fahrenheit at the core to only about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit at the surface. So just like super hot. And I forgot who brought up because it may have been you, Rhiannon, but we're talking about like Kazemi and
Mhm.
combustion and things like that, to where like the sun can literally harm other planets from a traditional astrology perspective because of how close it can be.
Yeah.
Those are my quick sun facts. I was really proud to bring that up.
I'm glad.
Nice.
No,
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you did. Fantastic. I always find that it's like when Adam talks about etymology. I always find that my understanding gets a lot more grounded when I hear things like the scientific facts. Like, um, there's context to everything. And so when you have a little bit more of the puzzle pieces, you can then apply it. Like you said, the sun can burn you. You can get sunburned, right? So even though it has this quality of being reliable and bringing warmth and bringing vitality, it can also burn you, right? And so that's something that um, it's I think balancing those opposites that we're always trying to balance or try to find the tension between the polar opposites. And I think every planet has that, including the sun, right? So as much as, we want to worship the sun, we also have to remember that it can also bring some negative aspects, right?
Mhm.
I think it's interesting also to like just pair the astronomy of the fact that the sun is what is the gravitational pull. It's what keeps the universe together. And then we also just kind of mentioned that this Leo energy, so the sun ruled energy is you walk into a room and it's that energy that everything just kind of turns towards. And you start,
Mhm.
because you notice it because it's got this gravitational pull, it's got this light, it just lights things up, and there's no ability to kind of just not look at it. So that's kind of interesting that, a lot of the, and that is the part of the, for me, that's part of the beautiful part of traditional astrology is that it really kind of shows us how all these elemental things and everything is so relational and it's all so interconnected based on those things. So it's fun to see that, of course. I mean, we would think, of course, astronomy and astrology have so many common threads, but it's just fun to kind of highlight some of those.
Absolutely. You know, when I was looking up these facts, God is so great in that there's this extremely volatile and dangerous star that's out there that is just far enough, but just close enough to support us. Isn't that
Mm-hmm.
just like amazing within
Mm-hmm.
itself? Like every time, like not every time, but like sometimes I'll just look out and look up at the sky. I'm like, ah, it's just there. Like,
Yeah.
and hopefully we won't get burned by it anytime soon. But
Yeah. Right. Well, and we see the effects, maybe not Tava. Tava is blessed with the warmth of the sun right now, but
Yeah, not the
you
moment.
know, all of us, and then north of her are feeling, and the effect you see it on the people around you when that sun is not out. I'm looking at an overcast sky right now, and even when you just see it start to peek out just a little bit, it's just a hint of it, people will smile, right? It will just be like, okay, I just need to know you still exist, that you're not lost to us completely, you know? It does recharge. It does recharge you just to look at it, to know, okay, you're still there, right?
hmm
So,
Isn't there a
but I
thing
like,
where like, oh, sorry, you got it.
no, no, no. I know I was going to say really quickly too, and I remember, I mean, w- I don't know who said it. I don't know all the ancient philosophers and so forth, but I know that, astrology came first, right? In the sense that they were studying those patterns, and then the mathematics and the astronomy started to come forth afterwards, I believe. And so, um, we just looked at the patterns first of the sky before we applied these mathematical equations and things, and tracking it that way. And so I think it's nice that we're able to observe the sky in multiple points of view to get an understanding of why there is this, like you said, Brett, God has put this massive star that is just volatile, and yet it can do all of these things. So giving us measurements or windows or perspectives to look at the sun in multiple ways is really nice.
Absolutely. I wanted to, before we head out of here, I wanted to see where does the sun show up in everybody's chart? And I guess I'll go first. So the sun is in Cancer for me, and it's in the 11th house. And maybe we can all get into houses at some point. That may be one of our topics, but 11th house of friendships, what supports the native towards their 10th house ideal, hopes, dreams, aspirations. And for me, my warmth, or where I feel like I'm moving towards my purpose or the plot line or whatever you may call it, is when I'm around friends, when I'm around people who are supportive, or when I'm working towards one of my goals or dreams, whatever it may be. So and I feel like even this, like what we're doing right now, is a pretty good example. This is like a sun in the 11th house type of thing.
For sure.
I love working with teams. Like it's one of like my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
I love sports like that are like sports where it's one-on-one is fun and stuff like that. But like sports where there's just like us versus them, oh, like I'm all about that. Like those are my
Oh yeah.
favorite things. Heck yeah, for sure.
Well,
Like
and
cancer
especially,
versus,
go ahead, sorry.
oh no, I was just saying the cancer versus your cat moon, right? So that cancer versus cat, the sun versus the moon, right? You're
Yeah.
like the
All the
competition.
time.
The
Yeah.
All the
opposition.
time. Yeah. And the fifth house. And it being in the fifth
And the
house,
fifth
the
house of
moon in the
moon.
fifth
Hmm.
house.
Yeah.
Heck yeah,
Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
and also I was thinking the cancer, just cancer itself, the fact that your cancer sun is, so it's all about your family and pulling everybody in and having your
Mm.
little group and your network. And so Yeah, it makes, so it's double, kind of double whammy. You've got some of the Cancer energy and the 11th house energy makes your sun really, it's really going to shine in that way. That's the part of life that it's going to really highlight.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
And with Jupiter there, this has been a fun year, right? For Jupiter being at
You know,
pivotal.
it's been interesting. Oh, sorry, Clay. It's been interesting
No.
because I think as Jupiter was um going over my like being conjunct to my sun, Tawa reached out.
That's great.
Seriously, and that but that's a thing, and
Hmm.
Goodness.
um some of my friends from work, we started hanging out a little bit more and things like that. So it's been really interesting. I wish I could have Jupiter in the 11th forever, but things don't
Yeah.
work out like that. And I'm sure there's challenges that come with any planet being conjunct any planet, but for the most part, there's been some really positive things that's been happening with this transit.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'll go next. I have my son in the 12th in Leo, and so I think without even thinking about astrology, specifically astrology, the one thing I know about Leo is just being creative, and so that's been my whole life has been the arts, visual art, media art. I studied art, I taught art. Um, I also have a I feel that people can heal through the arts. I'm a little bit of a there is that internal quality of feeling like art is really the path to healing. Almost slightly obsessive quality, but it's very internal, being in the 12th. Um, so love to see other people make art. I love to make art myself. I like to encourage people. I love seeing when people create art and then feel proud of themselves. And I have learned that that is something I learned about Leo is I love for people to be able to empower themselves. And specifically for me, my experience has been when I've given people creative projects, I've seen the joy in their face of like, oh, wow, I just created this thing, not anybody else that I created it. So I feel like there's a lot of facets, I think, to the sun in Leo and the 12th, but I feel like that's the one that really shows up for me the most obviously.
I think it's beautiful that you have the combination of the Leo sun, which is just, always going to be trying to expose and unveil and light things up. And you used it in a way of that you help others facilitate that, like, helping them unearth some 12th house stuff and
Hmm.
bring it out through the creative realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well said, Tove. I was thinking of that too. Hmm.
Well, I guess I'll follow up the Leo with the Leo. So I have Leo sun in the second house, which is to me interesting now to know that because I never necessarily related to being a Leo, but being in the second house makes so much sense for me because that is in the aspects of my life because the sun is what is kind of directing my plot line and where I'm trying to go and how I'm seen in the world and out in the public realm and I as a first career chose to be a teacher and I as a Cancer rising, which we'll talk about that some other time, but I'm actually kind of an introverted, soft-spoken, quiet person, but in that realm of skill building, even before becoming a teacher, I studied abroad and I was very like willing and able to risk and just try learning another language and it turned out I'm quite good linguistically, but a lot of that has to do that I have that Leo willingness to just kind of go out and shine and participate and be a part of it. And when it has to do with skill building and creating assets for myself and figuring out, how I'm going to move out and into the world. Um, so makes perfect sense to me now. And even to the degree of now that I'm 50 something and I went through my hallelujah, I'm 50 now, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks, which really is phenomenal. I can't wait till you all get to experience it. But anyway, but prior to that, I was really uncomfortable with public speaking or even in a group if I was having to just be the speaker of it, be the center of it, and if it wasn't in a instructional kind of facilitating way, I could really comfortably do that when I felt like I was sharing information and giving people skills that they were useful to them. Um, and that feels like a total Leo sun in the second house sort of thing that you want to help others to build their assets and their skills and and so I could
Mhm.
get over my own introversion to be able to help do that for people and for myself, skill building for myself. I could do that too. In a classroom, I was always one of the most talkative people because that wasn't me feeling shy. That was just me being curious and wanting to learn and how do I get this information? So anyway, that's how I feel like the sun shows up in my life.
Thanks. I am a Libra sun with the sun in my eighth, and I feel like the way that that shows up for me is that I mean, as far as I know, that's like your karmic debts and what things that you owe to other people and things that other people owe to you from like a karmic standpoint. For me, I take that into like just really like I feel like my purpose, my plot line, my sun like is like direction is always wanting to go deeper into understanding um just the psychological background, why people do things the way we do, like why like the different personality types, how we react to different things. And I mean, for me, I think I feel like I'm most in my element when I'm using all those tools to like help somebody figure something out about their life or their experience or their karma or anything like that. Whether that comes, just from like even a Chinese medicine perspective or like an astrological perspective. So, or psychological perspective. So yeah. And it's interesting because recently, like over the last, um, I'd say like 6 years, I'd studied and got a degree in psychology. So it's like it's very Sun in Libra in the eighth house. So yeah.
That's really
Awesome.
cool. Yeah.
I was thinking that just before we close up and any final comments that everybody has, the final comment that I think I have that has come to my head a couple times that I keep forgetting to include in the conversation, or maybe it just hadn't been the time to do it, but the one, the whole, that part of the sun that is such a critical piece. We've talked about it from different angles, but I also feel like there's because the sun is the the archetypal, the A day, that's where the kind of the connection with the gods is. But for me, there's also the just my philosophy on life and culture and reality, like how we live and how we make it all happen and what it all means. I really, really believe there is this one thing, and you get to call it whatever you want to call it, whether it's a god or a divine or the divine universe or whatever it is. But there is this unit, this unity that we all share, and in astrology, the sun is what represents that.
That was beautifully put.
Thanks.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Um, cool. Does anybody else have anything to share or want to bring up anything else about the sun?
It's a toss-up of so much to bring up, and there are so many things we can say about it. I think, when I first looked at this topic, I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have anything to say. There's not much. And then as we start to talk, you realize, oh, it's a sun. What am I talking about? It's a sun. Of course, there's going to be about a million and one things to say. Um, I think it's uh, I think the sun is interesting. Maybe you know what? I'll just speak to it from a personal perspective. It's a very interesting and back and forth relationship with the sun. I love the sun. I gravitate towards the sun. I'm always looking for the light end of the room. And even when I was looking for where I was living, I was always looking for the spaces where there was light coming in. I got made fun of that for that reason. So there is a gravitational pull. Um, and then there's times that you have to kind of reconcile how it functions, and for me, how it works in my chart. So there is, I guess, trying to figure out how do you express your sun in the best way possible, um, and share that connection to what you see out in the sky. So I definitely feel like this is, I think in my head, it's definitely a journey of exploration, and even being a Leo sun, you think, oh, she'd have to know really and what the sun is about. No, not at all. It's just it's a path you keep walking and
Hmm.
get to know a little bit about it single day, you know? So I think that's where I am right now with the sun.
Absolutely. And Tawa, I want to circle back to what you're saying. When you were talking about the sun and the way you put it, and how it being related to the divine God, or um, it's like, as at least in my perspective, as the universe is infinite, it seems like the sun is like this beginning of things. It's like this central piece in time in something that is infinite and that is powerful within itself. Is that kind of like what you were talking about?
I think that what you're saying is accurate and it makes sense, but I'm not sure that they're the same thing.
Okay.
But I do think, the sun is, I guess I was talking more symbolically, like that the sun is kind of representative in the astrological system of that wholeness that we could say exists in the universe. But I also, and there's not even a but, I would say, and what you just said, that everything is infinite and the sun is this central, it, at some point, starting point. And for us, repeatedly, as we've talked about, just it's the reliability of the day in and day out. The sun rises, the sun sets, the sun, and so it maybe it's just representative of the beginning and the continuity and the infinity of it. Is that kind of what
Absolutely.
you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Heck yeah. Um, okay. Well, no, I thought this was awesome today. It was our first time doing it. Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Um, appreciate everyone. And yeah, we'll be back at it next time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
And
Thanks,
please
everyone.
share comments with us on YouTube and or wherever you're finding this video so that we know what you want to hear and what we can have fun talking about with you in the future.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Thanks.
Mhm.